I will start the recording.
Excellent.
All right.
Hi,
You got it, Marta?
hello everyone. My name is Marta, Marta Cukierman. I come from Poland. I am a co-founder of StreamX together with my husband. It's a digital experience mesh, and one of the biggest issues that we can tackle with it is the China performance issue. And to maybe start from what the China performance issue is and how one can go around it. I prepared this little graph to show you what's the difference between when a Chinese user makes a content request, when a European or US-based person makes a content request. So in general, this pretty much from a high level shows you the architecture of StreamX, but we are not going to focus on that at this moment. We will focus on the edges that are here and that are located in the region where we are serving a given site. So if between the user in China and the edge location from which it's taking its content, whether it's just some data from a backend service or anything else, if in between that person and the server that holds the data is Chinese firewall, that's when the experience is broken. If that Chinese firewall is on the other side of the server, which means that our precious user and the data are located on the same side of the firewall. That's when the experience can be served in full and can be performant. Because from that perspective, then those requests don't have to cross the Great Firewall. If we were to talk about and that's pretty much what I had in terms of like a visualization of where this things, what's the difference between those two. Let's now briefly go into what the Chinese firewall is, because it's not what it is. It's not what we hear it to be. It's not a wall. It's a set of systems. It's a set of restrictions and compliance rules that are in place to make sure that the content that is being served in China is compliant with Chinese law. And the government put that Chinese firewall to make sure that everything that we serve as content in China is compliant. So one of the bits that allow people to, let's say, freely put content inside China is getting this ICP license, so Internet Content Provider license, that allows them to provision what we have here. So the infrastructure, the gear inside China, so that later on they can serve their websites with their content, with their data, etc. Quite freely, but of course that's also given that they are compliant with some other regulations that are in place. I've given you here just an diagram, but I want to go and show this in practice. So I will go and I will stop presenting this and start presenting something else. I'll just close this and I will open let me start now. There are two things that I'm going to open. I'm going to open a site, a browser that has access to the sources that are building the website. So in my example, that will be a CMS, which will be an Adobe Experience Manager, and there will be a product source that will be Adobe Commerce. Those two will be located outside of Chinese firewall for Chinese users. And then I'll go into the Alibaba Cloud workspace, where I will access the sites that will be produced out of those two sources as if I were in China. So my requests will go, if they are hitting a server located in US, they will be going through the Chinese firewall. And if I'm hitting the server that is with that is located inside of China, those requests will not cross the Great Firewall. So to give you a brief look at what is here, I have, yes, that's this, and share. Am I sharing a window or am I sharing a screen? Sorry, I'm sharing a window. I want to share a screen. Apologies. I will have this sorted very now. Okay. So this is my cloud computer. But before we get there, I'll open also the place where I had my, and these are my sources. So I have my homepage here. So this is the homepage that I have. This is in AEM, and I will be editing that in a second. This is me in China, and I'm StreamX is allowing you to add your edge location as a delivery service, which means that whatever is located on a given server is pretty autonomous. And that's why we have those edge locations mentioned here, because the same site is available from different places. We have an edge location in Europe. There is one in US and another one in US, and there's one in Beijing. So what I'll do now, I will go and access the one in Beijing and the one in US from within China, so that you could see what's the difference in performance of loading both of those sites. So here, as you can see, this one is the Beijing one. I'll open the, I will open the network here, so you can see the timing when it's, okay. So you could see the request and how quickly they load. Let me just do this. The cache is disabled, so you're not using the browser cache, because you can see that it's here. And I'm opening the site. We're transferring. It's already loaded. It's under 2 seconds. We have all the images that are here. You could see that the requests are like under 40 milliseconds and so on. Let me now go to the same site. It will be exactly same site, but the request will go to a US node. So once I change it here, you can see that I have a US East node here. I will open the same window so you could see the network requests. Okay, we have everything cleared, and I will, sorry, just to make sure that the cache is disabled as well. And it's starting, and it's loading, and it will take some time. Because, well, it will. I will not make, I mean, I will not make you look at this blank screen for long. I will switch to another one to show you some more features, because just to put aside, on the right side of the Great Firewall is one thing, because it's like making a snapshot of your website. You could potentially put a static website and be done with it. What our solution helps you to do is to also put all the functionality and the services that you may want to have on the Chinese side. So for example, search, which I will show in a second. And the other thing is it has a live connection with the sources, which means that if I go and update the homepage, let's leave this one loading here. I will go and, but I can also show you that if I open this one, not from China, but from our regular, sorry, where's my, from here, so from Europe right now, I'll open the same site. It will load.
So Marta, I think this shows in the first 10 minutes the core of the problem.
Yes.
That if you don't do something, the website will work, but it will be very slow. And of course, if you have a retail experience or if it's a B2B site, whatever, it will be super slow. I think when we met in Berlin, you had a couple of kind of introduction high-level slides that kind of set the stage. Could I possibly persuade you to go back to those? And then we can have a Q&A around. I'm also curious to hear, I'm aware that there's quite a few in the call. Probably also interesting for you, Marta, to just hear their experiences, their take on this problem. Would that be okay?
Yes, I will now.
So while Marta is finding a slider 2 for me, perhaps I can play ball to anybody in the room who has experience with making websites work in China. Anybody wants to go first? Karim, is this something that you worked on?
Funny you asked. It was literally the year 2000, and it was a very different world. Since then, no.
All right. Then Justin from Toronto.
I apologize if my audio is bad. I am on the train as always, but we actually just did a deployment for a global IoT firm based out of Germany, and there was completely separate requirements for their website to be accessed. And the front end deployments through Vercel. Why I'm going to be of little use to this call is I actually do not know yet how our dev team deployed in China. All I know is that they did, and the client is extremely happy. And this Friday, I'm getting a debrief on what they did. So on our next call, I can tell you how we actually made it work.
Yes. Or for the follow-up blog post, I can weave you in and make you look good, Justin.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Anybody else with Chinese experiences, pain points in France? Romain?
Yeah, I was wondering, like, because it's a China problem, but it's a caching problem basically, and I was wondering, like, how do you manage when you add a page and this page need to appear on the menu of all other pages? How do you manage that? How do you tell the cache of all pages and refreshes it in a smart way?
Thank you, because that's like a really good question, because we are not using cache. That's the beauty of event-driven architectures, that based on an event of a change that happened in a source system, whether it's like a menu change that needs to be recalculated at the source or something, it's pre-generated and then pushed as much ready experience as possible. So in case of our menu, that would probably like a content fragment that will be put on the all of the servers that are deliveries, and will be included on a site during composition.
All right, and you do the composition on the edge then, or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, Marta. So I hope it's okay with pushing you around, but let's have a look at these slides because I think they kind of set the stage.
Yes. Which one were your favorites? Because we have so we had the survey made.
Yeah, I think we can go through those. I can share them for afterwards.
Yes, we did go. I mean, because before the Berlin event happened, I asked dear CMS experts to participate in the survey in terms, and we categorize it into 2 ways. First of all, for platform vendors, whether or not they are actually that Chinese problem is something that they see or that they have been asked about it, and so on. And on the other hand, there are digital agencies. So from the perspective of, I don't know how much you see, I will just make it bigger. Okay, sorry, it didn't want to. I will then. Okay, because I'm sharing a screen, not a window. When I do it bigger, then it's.
That's okay, Marta. I think after the survey, there was something about like, what is the problem actually? This, I think you came back to the firewall again, and these different licenses you need to apply for. I think there's some interesting insights there.
Yes. So there are.
Yes.
There are a couple. Yes. So the problems around China are around compliance, which is around ICP, so the Internet Content Provider license, whether or not you need one, or what kind of level you need, because to make commerce, to make payments and make things like that, you need a slightly higher grade ICP, which is the ICP commercial license, and for your regular site, that would be more kind of this is my merchandise. You can see it, but you can't buy it. You'll have the or you can buy it in the store. You'll have the ICP filing one. There is another aspect of MLPS. MLPS is this multi-level protection scheme, which is again, there are 4 or 5 levels of it, depending on how important your business is for China, or how dangerous it may be if your data was leaked. Then you have different levels of how secure your data has to be. And because of that, websites also need to have a certain amount of control within Chinese borders. It's not enough to just put your content in EU and cache it in China, because if you have a cache, you don't have a pretty granular control over the content that you have within China. There is another aspect of data residency and transfer rules, and well, personal data of Chinese citizens, it has to be processed and stored within China. So if you are building a global website and you have your global analytics and you have your global CRMs and so on, you cannot necessarily use the same stack for your Chinese market. And there are many others that make China not your ordinary market. It's not like in AM we have this multi-site management, and you can just roll out a live copy and be happy about a new market rolled out. With China, it's a set of things that you have to consider, but there is a way to leverage as much as you can from your global stack. You don't really have, well, that is of course an option to have a separate deployment in China, but there are also ways to build on what you already built for your entire global setup. Okay, sorry. So this was this was the part about compliance. We also had a part about reliability, and why we come back to this point that everything that your site depends on, and your customer during creation of that experience needs to be on the right side, because it's not only that every request will be timed out. It doesn't have to, but it's simply not reliable. Once it can be super fast because it's, let's say, 2 a.m. In China, and they don't really inspect the traffic that much, or the next day it's midday and your site is not building properly. Another aspect is that there are certain services that are simply blocked, like your Google Fonts or Adobe Analytics. So if you have them in your website, they will cause timeouts. They will cause the fact that your site looks broken. They will cause the fact that you thought that there is a video on your web page, but that video never loads, and things like that. So, and the thing is that when you look at that site, even on your Chinese side, from the right side of the Great Firewall, you won't be able to see that. I showed you that when I logged on the same site from EU and from China. In China, it was still loading, and in EU, it was completely rendered in my browser. So there are also aspects that that we can't see unless we put certain guardrails in place. Our RAM will not work the same. Like I think Datadog and others are not. They don't necessarily have the setup needed for your for the monitoring that you're looking for. Okay.
All right, let's open it up for questions again. Would that be okay, Marta?
Yes, very much.
I think this gave you a little bit more insights. Any other questions, comments, reflections? So we're talking about compliance. We're talking about technical requirements.
Yeah.
Shirat?
Yes, thank you. Maybe a quick question on this adjacent problem of the data, in particular, the data collected in forms, for example. I ran into that problem before, and it's actually not that easy problem to solve. Do you have a solution for the data aspects that you raised earlier?
Well, it's I would say it depends. I mean, it depends on whether you're sending individual per people data, or if you're sending B2B kind of data, if you're sending orders, etc. So the thing that works, so there's one aspect in terms of transfer of the data, and the other of how to technically send them. So from the legal perspective, I can't really. The only thing I can say is that I think it's the limit under which you can send is around, I think, 100,000 requests annually. That is like below the threshold when they are really inspecting that. But in terms of how to send that the form and for it not to time out, we are employing queuing mechanisms that allow you to make sure that even though on the website you will already get the information that, well, it's being sent, and you'll have a confirmation when it's delivered. So you don't treat sending as a transaction in terms of person looking at the browser and waiting for the response. You have to treat it as something that may need to take a little bit more time, and then you send back the information that it was delivered once it has been delivered on the other side.
And you mentioned the storing part. Do you have a solution for that?
Storing.
You just focused on the communication part of my question, but there is also the storing of the data element for that. So for example, if you want to have those requests, data elements being stored immediately as part of the request process, you're basically trying to immediately send the data outside of China through queuing. Is that what I'm hearing? I'm not even sure that's allowed. Sometime, if I remember well, you have to also store locally the data.
Yes, you would have to store it locally on that server that is that or other server that is within China that is hosting your website, and then the orders would be transferred from one place to the other. With the I mean, I'm speaking simply about the technical part where you move the data from one side of the Great Firewall to the other one. In terms of how to make it legal, I would suggest that you have separate system on the Chinese side that allows you to work with the customers, and then the part that you're sending to the let's say headquarters would be anonymized in such a way that you send the information about the order, but you have to have both to be able to know who to send it for once you realize the order.
Well, thank you.
How about you, Adam? Anything you want to add from your perspective in terms of the problem statement here and your experiences working at an international company?
No, I would say, so maybe Marta, you could talk a little bit about, so how do you see the platforms coming along here? Because this is an issue everybody runs into. So I'm constantly surprised that this is happening on the fringes, that these problems are being solved on the fringes and not at the core. Because big companies are using like big platforms, and I can see that you're focusing on AEM, but you know, many of the other platforms like they have no flexibility, they have no information available to solve any of these things. But where do you see them moving on this?
Well, so yes, the first thing is that we are source agnostic. So we are focusing on AEM for now because that's where our most experience comes from. But the platform itself works with sources, different kinds of sources. So I think the biggest issue with the platforms that you mentioned is that they have a lot of dependencies, and they are using global stacks that can't be present in China. So if they are using global CDNs, from the kind of internet perspective, China is like a different infrastructure setup. And if you're introducing something that has a dependency with something that's from outside of China and with bigger platforms, that's the case. You are kind of stuck with the fact that your system is not necessarily working. So where I see that coming to a solution, you have to decouple the part where you deliver from the where you create, because that's that, and slowly kind of go away from because those dependencies are the biggest stopper in providing a solution for both compliant and fast experiences in China. So as long as we are talking about systems that have like a long tail of dependencies, or they are relying on big infrastructure providers that are not available in China, as long they won't be able to reliably provide you with a solution. Because like with AEM, their answer to China is to have AEM as a managed service, which is a completely different setup. You have a separate project that is separate for China. So yeah.
I think it's a good point, Adam, that if you think back also to, was it 2000 you mentioned, Karim? You build websites, and then there's kind of no compliance, very little regulation, if any. And then fast forward to 2025, and like you said, Adam, it's just like more and more stuff gets added on top of what we're expected to solve as digital leaders. And it's fine and good to be optimistic humans, but this list just keep growing. And you're right, interestingly, Adam, it seems like the answer for most of these big vendors, whether it's HubSpot or Adobe, etc., is, yeah, for that you need to buy something else. And I think from a buyer perspective, that's a little bit disappointing,
to say the least. I think there is also another aspect to that, because, well, this problem comes from isolation, and China being an isolated market, and one could see other places becoming also isolated in some point, at some point, or regulated. So this issue that is now China specific might become other places specific.
Thank you, Marta. On that note, thanks for helping educate all of us. I really appreciate it. There is a lot to be learned here. I know you're also on a learning journey. So, and when I write up this blog post, I'll come back and we can perhaps also weave in insights from your train ride, Justin. Thank you very much, all of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk soon. Thank you, Marta.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.